Hello team, good morning. My name is Asim. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to start the Jenkins series and the topic which we are going to cover, which is on our screen now. So team, what is a prerequisite in order to proceed for this series, right? You should have hands-on knowledge, right, about the Linux operating system and the cloud, any cloud provider. So in our case, we are going to go with AWS cloud provider. So we are going to create a virtual machine from AWS. So basically, the virtual machine is known as EC2 in AWS terminology. Okay. So for that use case, you should have hands-on knowledge on cloud computing as well as the Linux. Okay. So all these applications which you are going to see in the DevOps prospect, so are all built on Linux. Okay. You should have the hands-on knowledge of Linux. Okay. If you don't have the hands-on knowledge of Linux, you will be difficult for you to proceed for this tutorial. Okay. But you don't need to worry. I have already covered this aspect as well. Okay. So if you check on my channel, which is Cloud Asim, right? So you're going to find one playlist over here with the name of Linux 0 to Hero. So if you click on this, on the top of this first video, you're going to cover as Linux 0 to Hero, and it is around 4+ hours where we have added all basics of Linux to the advanced, where we are, which as a DevOps engineer or the developers which are working on any Linux operating system, they will using what are the command they are using, Linux management, and all the points has been covered. If you complete this 4 hours tutorial, then you will have hands-on knowledge on Linux. Okay. So after this, you're going to cover. Let's go back to our agenda, right? So as I mentioned, we will proceed and we will discuss all the steps now. So we are going to cover starting that what were the methods, CI/CD methods which were being used before Jenkins was adopted, right? In the 2004, around 2004 it was started, right? So what are the benefit does Jenkins bring that made popular tool CI/CD tool in the industry, right? And what is the Jenkins architecture related to the master and the slave architecture, right? And then we are going to see the complete Jenkins installation with the Jenkins UI, and I'll give you overview and the briefing about that, how your Jenkins UI will be uh, visible to you, right? Then afterwards, we will be using Jenkins installation on different operating system. So in our use case, I will show you the document through which you can install your Jenkins on the Windows, Mac OS, and Linux operating system, right? So this flow also we are going to cover in this series. Then later on, we are going to show you the different projects, creating the different job, like creating your a freestyle project and the declarative pipelines as well. Okay. So we will create two pipelines separate and we will try to cover maximum projects within this series as well in the later of this stage of this series. Okay. Then afterwards we will cover, as I said, the master slave concepts. Then I will show you the Linux user management system where you can create multiple users on the Jenkins, and you can give specific permission uh, to the pipelines, right? Different pipeline, different roles. Based on that, they have access. So you can add it as role-based access system, right? So then later on, we will do one CI/CD pipeline in which we are going to add Docker, Kubernetes, SonarQube, and the monitoring and observability tools, that is Grafana and Prometheus as well. Okay. Then we are going to add on other DevSec concept, which we are going to add Opaz, okay, as a dependency check application. Then we are going to add as a tree to scan your file system and Docker images. Okay. Then later on, we are going to go for the code quality check. In order to do that, we are going to configure SonarCube and how you're going to add this all tools in the Jenkins, right? Where you're going to centralize all your tools and you're going to add as a credentials, how you're going to save it, how you're going to define your servers, how you're going to define your tools within the Jenkins, so that in order to call your all your servers and tools from your Jenkins pipeline. Okay. Then later on, to make it sure that it has to be automate alerts within your system, within your organization, we are going to add the email alert system as a post build action. Okay. For that, we are going to use Gmail services. When the in the real time scenario, your organization will give you SMTP server. It might be multiple in the different organization. Some they go with the AWS SES service. Then the same comes with the Azure services and GCP servers, or they can go with third party as well, right? Like a Mailchimp and another services are there for SMTP servers. Okay, then afterwards, whatever we have configured and created the pipelines, so in order to have a backup in the disaster recovery, so I will show you how you're going to back up your Jenkins, all your pipelines, right, to your S3 bucket, and you can restore from there in case of disaster, right? So disaster is a main part of your organization. So you will do the patching management, right, to make sure your Jenkins is up and live to the latest vulnerability fixations, right? And whatever that you have your pipelines in your Jenkins that need to be drilled on to make sure that you are restoring with your latest version of the Jenkins backup. Okay. So now, as we discussed that CI/CD tool, we are the popularly known as Jenkins, right? So as I mentioned that what is Jenkins? Okay, Jenkins is open source Java based CI/CD tool because this is written in Java programming language and it has been around from some time and is popularly used in organization, right? To get our CI/CD needs. Okay, so in the today's fast software development, what Jenkins and the CI/CD provides you that it provides the speed, as I mentioned that it has an infinite symbol, right? It provides you reliable automation in order to handle critical deployments, right? Where we are going to add the automation for your Sonar Cube static code analysis of your code, right? Then in the modern software development cycle, the CI/CD uh, parts, right, will have the advantage, right? And it has code stones for the DevOps and Agile methodologies. Okay, what are the key essentials, right? What are the essentials of the Jenkins? As I mentioned that this is a free and community supported, so every time you will have the new updates related to Jenkins is being received on the Jenkins server. Okay, so you need to update your Jenkins progressively as a patching management. Okay, where you have multiple plugins, you can integrate almost more than 1800 plugins are available for testing, deployment, notification, and everything. So what kind of pipelines you can write is freestyle, declarative. Okay, what are the cross platform is available. Okay, so working on the Linux, Windows, Mac OS, okay, Kubernetes, you can deploy this Jenkins into different environment, different operating systems. Okay, so after this series you will be have the expertise of the Jenkins. So if you have the expertise of Jenkins, you can work on any CI/CD tool. Okay, so before heading towards this, let's cross check one more point is that what was the methods was adapted before coming to the automation tool, that is Jenkins, right? So if you check our board right over here, they'll see this is the software development cycle. Okay, so your software, like if you're creating one software like Asim, right, I have one new order, a new project I have received from one organization stating that I'm going to build one application that is basically, let's say, any healthcare sector application. So what will be the phases, different phases in order to build this application and deliver to the client. Okay, so my first motive is to make the quality application and to add all the features required by our client, right? And to make sure that before that I'm going to do that, I'm going to uh, get the requirements from the client. So what are the features required, what are the stages in order he required the delivery of our application. Okay, so that come in the requirement phase, as I mentioned that. Then we will design our application phase. So in this case we will be designing the software architecture, in the sense which programming language we are going to use is adopt we are going to adapt in order to develop this application. Okay, what are the microservices we are going to use, what libraries we are going to use, how you're going to differentiate front end, back end, this everything will be covered on this part, right? So that comes with the development phase. Then afterwards design phase, right, where we are going to manifest everything. Then we are going to work on this design phase in the development phase. Okay, then afterwards whatever we have developed, then we'll move that to the test phase. Okay, in the test phase we are going to cross check with whatever the required gathering we have collected from the client, or we have fulfilled that requirement, right? So we, the QA team, will test all the functionality as per our requirement gatherings, right? So whatever the required gathering was there, we will cross check that modules, the functionality, whichever there, that is filling our client requirement. Okay, then we'll go for the deployment and delivery phases. So whenever we want to deliver our application or deploy our application to the environment, right, the organization environment, It can be dev environment, stage environment, and production environment. Basic are these three environment, but based on the organization, you will have multiple environments, right? So that we will manifest that what will be the MVP1, MVP2, and what will be our deliver phases which we are going to deliver our application. Then whenever we are going to deploy and deliver, we require one maintenance team in order to monitor our application to make sure that our application is up and running in 24 into 7, right? So this is simple software development life cycle, right? Which you have different phases in order to get that. Okay. So before coming to the DevOps like Jenkins automation tool, so what were the conventional issues we're facing before adoption of any CI/CD tool, right? So at the point of time, let's say for example, right, I'll give the demo over here. So let's say we were working for one phase, right? That let us say that I'm going to deliver this application like with the MVP one, right? So MVP consists of different modules. Okay, module in the sense I have a login module, then I have, let's say, uh, your admin login, right? Admin portal, then you have a client portal. So these are the different three portals, right? As I mentioned that I have login portal, then I have, let's say, admin portal, right? Then I have simple client portal. Okay, so these are the portals which I have currently. Okay, so what I was saying that I have three portals which I have created. So before that, what used to happen that, so when I'm going to deploy this, sorry, when I'm going to develop these three modules, right? Then I was going for the next phases. Okay, so first we are going to go for first for the design pattern. Then I need to go for the development, then testing, then deployment. So in the deployment, if we face any bugs or any failure of the deployment, then we need to go for again for going with the same phase starting from one to again to repeat for these steps. Okay, so that was the disaster at the time when it was there is no CI/CD tool was adopted. Okay, so it was increasing our development time, and it was increasing the like fixation. Okay, it do you need to remember in the software one thing is that creation of any modules will take less time than fixing it. Okay, so for example, if I tell you that one example, like you are building any road, right? So the building you construction any road from the scratch, that will take lesser time than destroying removing that existing road and construct new road, right? You will validate my point, right? So if I want to reconstruct the road, then I need to remove the existing road which is damaged completely. Then I need to make sure that the site is clean and is ready for the new road, right? So there are the multiple stages have been added. Okay, so this goes with the same software as well. So what was the case is that uh, so if I say that I have received some bugs while the delivery stage of this application, right? So what we need to do, we need to go and cross check our requirement again, right? For our modules, then I need to design, then I need to go for development phase, then testing for, then again deployment. This was a headache for the software development cycles. Okay, so then the adoption came for as a as right one CI/CD tool. Okay, so if you check over here, you will be seeing that there is a DevOps concept as is a combination and collaboration between dev team and operations teams, right? You will stand by me, right? So you have seen this logo is showing that this is an infinite kind of symbol. Okay, where you're going to see it that there are the different stages involved in CI/CD. Okay, so what are the stages? There is a plan, code, build, test, right? Release, right? Then deploy into different environment, then operate and monitor. So in this case, what happened? So whenever we are going to push any new code, let's say, for example, we have defined that instead of waiting for creating of the client portal, then whenever that login portal is ready, so I will push that code to my one repository, right? That is GitHub repository. So what we are going to go with that version control system. Version control system is achieved by multiple tools. One of the tool is GitHub. You can call it as Git, and where you are going to store it, the your source code, then you can call it that GitHub repository. Okay. So for that use case, I'm going to push that code to GitHub. Okay. So that code I need to pull to one virtual machine manually without CI/CD. Then I need to install dependencies of this application. Let's say this application is built in Node.js, right? Built in Node.js. So I need to install Node.js on my machine, right? On my machine, then I need to install the dependency as well. My environment variables, right? Environment variables where I have sensitive API keys and different keys which I required for environment keys for my application, right? Then I need to and running manually this application. So to overcome this everything, so CI/CD got adopted. Okay. So what happened? The low when I write the code for the GitHub, when I write the code for the login portal, so the code will be pushed to our GitHub repository. Okay, from the GitHub repository, what will happen? The code will be, as I mentioned, the plan stage is completed. Code also I have written for one module. Then what happened? I push that code to the GitHub. Okay, so these are the manual steps which I've shown you below. So this can be achieved with your CI/CD tool. So CI/CD tool which we are going to use as Jenkins. Okay. So if you have the knowledge of the Jenkins, you can work with any CI/CD tool. Okay, it can be Bamboo, it can be Azure pipeline, it can be code pipeline from AWS, right? So you can work on any different CI/CD tool. Okay, so this part we will be doing automation to this. Whenever the code is pushed to our GitHub repository, as I mentioned below, so the pipeline will get triggered. The pipeline will get triggered, then it will build the pipeline npm, right? Because we are building the application with Node.js. Okay. In case of Java, you can go with the Maven. Different build tools are available. Okay, then afterwards, instead of testing, as I mentioned above, right? So I mentioned that there has to be testing phase. Instead of doing this manual also, you can write the test cases in order to verify that your source codes could pass these test cases, right? In order to deploy into your environment. Let's say production environment, for example, now. Okay, because this is a sensitive environment in any organization. Okay, this is basically your business concepts. Okay, so if you see any application that is running on one URL, let's say uh, you have sbi.com, right? So that is production environment. Okay, so that same environment will have a dummy clones, like stage environment with the dummy credential that is known as stage environment. Okay, even though we have one dev environment where we do this all testing and everything on the development side on the dev environment. Okay, so the code will be pushed and the testing will be passed where whatever the test cases has been written by the developer that need to be passed in order to proceed further for the next step. Okay, after that we will be releasing this into dev environment. Okay, in the dev environment we are going to deploy this our code for the module which I have written, right? Which one for the login portal, right? So that will be delivered to your EC2 instance or Kubernetes cluster based on your environments as set by your organization. Okay, so in our use case we are going to cover with EC2, then later on we will be covering for Kubernetes as well. Okay, so after this, then we, as you know very well, that we will be adding monitoring as well, like Grafana and Prometheus, in order to monitor your virtual machine and your Kubernetes cluster and your Jenkins server as well. Okay, so this all things goes with these steps. Okay, so in this case, you can add multiple stages as well. Sec concept is being added where we are going to use as uh, we are going to use SonarQube, right? SonarQube is latestly adopted by all the organizations, right? Where we are going to check the quality of the code, any vulnerabilities, bugs available, any hotspots available, right? Even Trivy is adopted and opacity adopted. We will be discussing this in the progress videos. Don't worry about that. We will be discussing about complete details about these applications. Okay, so this is how this completely goes with the Jenkins uh, life cycle. Okay, any CI/CD life cycle, you can call it as Jenkins life cycle as well. Okay, so as you mentioned, the code will be with the Git, everything as I covered. Now let's go to this point. Now, as I mentioned before, that why the Jenkins is been popular as CI/CD tool adopted by organization, right? So if I'm going to check out the developer nation community, you're going to see that whenever the organization that has 1K employees, so the famously used CI/CD tool in the organization still in 2024 and 24 5 is Jenkins. Okay, that is adopted around based on the surveys is around 70%, right? So now it can be over by Azure pipeline as well, AWS pipeline as well. But if you have the knowledge of one CI/CD tool, you can work on any one CI/CD tool. Okay, so you don't need to worry that some of the stating that Jenkins is outdated. No, this is not the part. So most of the organizations still they are using Jenkins. Okay, if they are not, they have migrated from Jenkins to another tool as well. The concepts will be the same. Okay, this part is done. You can go and you can cross check this developernation.net website where you have a stats over here. What are the trending tools available? Okay, let's go. So as I mentioned that with the Jenkins, we can integrate multiple stages: plan, stage, code, build, test, deploy, operate, and monitoring. How we are going to do that, I'm going to cover, as I mentioned that, within this Jenkins topics. Okay. So now if you check one GIF over here, you're going to find that Jenkins server can handle multiple points, okay, where you can create CI/CD pipeline that is known as jobs as well, where you can handle with the user management as I mentioned over here, which I'm going to cover over here, right? As I mentioned, where is this Jenkins user management is over here, right? So that you can do it. Plugins are available. So basically, what are the plugins? Okay, so you don't get confused. Plugins are additional functionality given to the Jenkins, right? So let me give you a simple example. So you have a laptop with you, which I'm working, and maybe you have a system or the laptop, right? So laptops will have additional plugins. Okay, that means additional ports they have given to you in order to connect your devices. Like I want to connect one CPU. Sorry, I if I want to connect one mouse, then I can connect that with that plugin. I can plug within that port. Okay. If I want to play one video from my flash drive, from the pen drive. So how I'm going to connect that to my laptop using the plugin. The plugin is a port where I'm going to inject my flash drive. Then I can play any video available in the flash drive. I no need to copy the video on my machine. Okay. So I can play within that. So how that is been accessed, that is accessed with the plugin. That means it gives some functionality. Okay, so your laptop have the functionality in order to access your pen drives also, right? Pen drive, CD drive was outdated, right? Even you can add your mobile, right? You can plug in your mobile with the port which is given. Okay, so with this point is a plugin are the additional functionalities which you can add it to connect to your Jenkins server through plugins. Okay, then you come with the node and clouds. Okay, so in this part, if you check over here, see, let's say whenever I'm going to give it a simple example, right? So I have created one organization. Let's say I have set up Cloud Asim, right? Cloud Asim, right? Cloud Asim IT organization. Okay, IT organization, right? So first thing what I'm going to do it, I'm going to create one office over here, right? Where I'm going to take one office, then I'm going to have one office for my personal use as well, the cabin over here. Then I'm going to occupy this, right? So what happened? I'm going to first be my first employee in my organization. Then later on, what happened? I have started doing some advertisement to take some projects, right? So simply one client came and he said that, okay, Asim, do some project for me, small projects, so just complete this project. I'm going to give you XYZ amount. So I have taken this project, right? Being only one employee, right, of my organization. Then I've started working on this on this project. Then I face that I may need to take 3 months in order to complete this project. Okay. So if I'm going to work dedicatedly for this project, I'm going to take 3 months. Okay. Now the point is coming off, if I'm going to work on my 3 months continuously on this project, then I don't have a time available, time management availability in order to track new projects. Okay. So what I'm going to do it in case of I'm working alone, I'm going to hire uh, new junior or any reputed engineer under me where I'm going to distribute my load. Okay. Then this come for 1.5 month. The reason is that this has been distributed between two engineers now. One is myself and another is oneself. So what I have done, I have increased my resources, right, in order to handle this the projects. Okay, so if I'm going to work for 3 months, then I will be completing this project into 1.5 month. Then progressively I'm going to target new clients within my free time as well. So this goes with the same way. Jenkins master and worker nodes. Okay, master and worker nodes, which we are going to discuss completely in the next tutorials, but I'm going to give a simple description over here. Master and slave, and it's known as worker nodes nowadays. Okay, so if somebody say you the master and slave architecture, or if they say you the master and worker master node and the worker node, it's referred to the same thing. Okay, so what will happen in case of I'm handling Jenkins master has, let's say, 20 pipelines. Okay, 20 pipelines, right, for 20 projects. Okay, 20 projects, I have 20 pipelines. You got my point. 20 pipelines. So in case of the load is coming from my Jenkins server is high, I don't want to risk that I'm going to get fatigue on the server. I no need the servers to be breakout. Okay, and I don't want them to be in the queue as well. Okay, because the maximum executor in the Jenkins is 2, right? So if the third pipeline is triggered, let's say one project code is pushed, the first comes first pipelines get triggered. Okay, is getting triggered, mean that is getting built. The second project came, that is also getting triggered. The third project which is push the code, that will be in the queue. Okay, fourth one also will be queue if there is coming the same time. So this one will take time to develop deploy into your environment or CI or CD part, whatever is there. Okay, so for that use case, what we are going to read, I'm going to create one Jenkins slave or Jenkins worker node. Okay, with that worker node, I'm going to attach to my Jenkins master, and I'm going to define that this was first pipeline for the project one going to build on slave. Okay, second is also going to build on slave. Then afterward, I thought, okay, I need to add one more employee to the Jenkins, so I'm going to configure slave 2, right? Then I'm going to define this slave 2. Slave 2 will handle this project pipelines. Okay, so this is how your work will be distributed in the Jenkins master slave architecture. Okay, you got my point. This is how we are going to do it in the master. This I'm going to give you completely briefing. Don't worry about this part. And the credentials. So the Jenkins file, when we are going to write it, we are not permitted, or it is one of the best practices to export your keys in the Jenkins file. Okay, so simply I'll give you one more example. If you're a very basic, okay, I have, let's say, diamond in my home. Okay, I have diamond with me and the value is like crores of rupees, millions of rupees. What I'm going to do it, I'm going to keep it in the open cupboard. No, I'm going to bring one like safe, okay, locker, safe locker. I'm going to keep that diamond into that locker. Okay, so whenever I'm going to take out this diamond, then I need to have authentication in order to access this locker, take out this diamond. Okay, so whenever I require, then I'll keep it and I'm going to lock it. This locker will have very high sensitive security. Okay, so it will have like a thumb impression, maybe eye, based on the locker you have selected. Now this is one kind, okay, where I'm going to store this credential into your Jenkins credentials. Okay, Jenkins have their one vault where I'm going to store that same our application, our application sensitive information. In IT, API keys, right? API keys, your SSH keys, right? API key, SSH key, okay. Then your server URL, tokens, GitHub tokens, right? Any kind of token, that all are not less than the diamond. Okay, precious metal. Okay, you cannot take any risk to expose them. So what I'm going to do it, I'm going to save in the credentials and I'm going to name that credential with XYZ. Let's say GitHub token. Then I'm going to call that credentials from the Jenkins pipeline. You got my point. Then global configuration, that means I'm going to add servers. I have a SonarQube server hosted on one virtual machine. From there, I'm going to configure this global servers in the global configure. And the Jenkins data, you know very well that whenever I'm going to store the data, that in the later on, I'm going to back up the data as well. Okay, so if you check the cycle over here, whatever the plugin we are using in order to access this the Jenkins have master and slave. The Jenkins can be deployed on Linux, Windows, and everywhere. Okay, so after Jenkins job is completed, right, agent get destroyed. Okay, so the point is that whenever you want to authenticate like auto scaling in the Jenkins, this functionality also is available. So it will create your new slaves if the load is high, and it will destroy based on this. And the load has been decreased. That means pipeline are not in the queue. Okay, so this authentication can be done with the AWS as well, right? AWS instance. EKS, Kubernetes plot, and the Docker containers. Okay, this part also we are going to cover in this part. Okay, so this all everything we have discussed over here, right? As I mentioned. So if I check over here, I have already explained you that already that what are the methods before method manual, what we were doing, right? Uh, to deploy your application into the different environment, right? Before CI/CD was adopted. Okay, then afterwards I have given you description that why CI/CD tool Jenkins is popular based on the stats. Even I have shown you that what integration you can do with the Jenkins. Then I have just give you little bit briefing about the Jenkins architecture, right? Okay, so in the next video, we are going to cover remaining Jenkins architecture and Jenkins server UI, where we are going to deploy our application. Okay.